Well, many thanks. And thanks to all the speakers. Woodsy, where are you? There you are. Stood up a minute. Where are the rest of your minions? There. Bob, where are you? There. And one or two others? Oh, stood up. These guys and girls, because there are one or two, but I think... She's gone, okay. These are guys that put this event on every year for us. They started back in 2013. This is the 7th one, and David came to me in 2012 when we were in Manchester, across here, and he says, I'm fed up of going to London for seminars. He said, do you think we could do one in Manchester? I said, I don't know, have a go. I'll help you though if you want. And he did. He did his first one or this team did the first one in City Tower Block with 150 places, and we had 220 requests, and they were standing at the back. And we moved to here the year after because it was the only place we could get circa 250 in and feed them in under an hour. So these guys have been doing this now for 7 years, and they've grown as the PWI has grown. And they do a great service to us. So if you can give them a round of applause. Just a bit about the event and the speakers. It takes a lot to get an event like this where the speakers complement each other and work together and it all gels. And I know David's already started planning next year's, haven't you, David? Well done. So Sin started this morning and with Steve's presentation as well with the video, reminding us all where it all began back circa 200 years ago. And you think about those engineers then and what they did, what they achieved with the tunnels and the bridges and the viaducts and the formations and the embankments, and they had little more than a slide rule, a level, a theodolite, a sundial, and a book of logarithms. And most of their infrastructure, most of their base infrastructure is what we're still using today. And the innovation that we've got now moving forward and the technology we have and the computing power we have is building on what they did. But fundamentally, most of what they built is still there, and we're still tweaking it around the edges for the want of a better description. The innovation is something that I've always been passionate about through the whole of my railway career, and I had huge opportunities both through BR, NR and Railtrack for innovation. And if we look at the presentations as we go through the day, RSSB, Neil and Robert, RSSB started out, as most of you remember, as a policeman for Railtrack, and they've come a huge way since those days. They're starting to really put stuff into the business and the innovation. Phil and Melanie and Ian then showed us all the stuff that's going on with the innovation. One interesting thing that was in there was, in one of the presentations, right at the bottom was an REPW. Yeah, and I think it was on Ian's presentation, yeah? Two-dimensional drawing. And yet we come through to Steve's presentation, our supplier, they've got 3D models coming out their ears, as all our suppliers have, because they need them to do the modelling, to drive the CNC machines, to drive the manufacturing, and yet as a business, we don't pull those 3D models into our repository. So maybe RSSB, with one of the innovations, can work with STE and supply chain to fast-track 3D designs and drawings into our systems, because actually in 2019, we're building for 40 or 50 years, and the people that come after us are going to look at us and say, what the bloody hell were these buggers doing in 2019, doing drawings in 2 dimensions? So that's just something to consider. We then went into crossing profiles, and Jan gave us some really good stuff. But one of the best things I got out of that was Bleding's comment that said we should be proactive and not reactive. And I think that's really important, that we need to be more proactive than reactive. It's no use looking for the fault after it's happened. We innovate, we design and we build, and then once we've done it, we tend to forget it. We have a duty of care to carry on, to make sure that the people that are using that and producing that do it in the spirit that we intended it to be done in. Because the minute you start to push it away from what it was designed for, that's when you start to get problems. And that's when you start to try and fix the problems, and that's when you become reactive. Professor Wood, high-speed dynamic. Well, I don't understand a lot about dynamics. But the way that we're going, we need to do more and more modelling to understand more and more what's going on. The asphalt one was interesting. I remember I was lucky enough to go to Belgium in 1999. I remember it was 95 because it was Briss. And I went for my then manager and watched the new high-speed line going in Belgium with asphalt track. And that's over 20 years ago. But again, move it even further back, and how many of you been out on a Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning and hit something hard when you're digging? And it's a big lump of stone with a load of tar around it, yeah? The older ones will remember it. These old engineers 200 years ago knew the advantage of tar and pitching. They used to put it down. It was really good. And then somebody decided we needed 350 millimetres of ballast. And you hit this down round about 325 mil. And somebody tells you to take it out because the spec says 350. That's when, as engineers, again, we have to be responsible and you know, sort of tell people the error of the ways sometimes. We moved on then to Joan in the afternoon, who gave the presentations. And that just shows how much PWI's moved forward. Joan reminded us that we started in a pub, which is where all good railway solutions start, or used to when I started. You could get whatever trains you wanted on a Friday afternoon in the Royal and Crew. But obviously we can't do that now, and for all the right reasons, but we've moved on massively. Harry then came with his modelling, and as all good modelling, he gave us a good plan and got us back on track after we slightly overran with the presentations. So that was quite good. Geocells, yeah, they'll just keep going, and innovation like that with geocells, piles, formation, it'll keep moving on and on and on and more forward. I remember when we first started to put Terram down, we kept a log. But it's probably 35 years since we started putting Terram down. And I don't know where them logs are, but as you said, iOutput finds most of our Terram now. The geocell development, and then Steve with his different pad and clip and base plate and different configurations. There's probably a solution for everything. No matter what problem we've got, somebody out there has probably got an idea of how to fix it. And then Andrew took us through, excuse me, where we're going as an industry and our responsibility to the environment and people and moving them around and everything. So it was really good. And if you wouldn't mind giving the presenters a round of applause. Right, before you go, I've got a couple of quick adverts. The next seminar for PWI will be Electrification and PWI Developments on the 24th of April. That's at the Roundhouse at Derby. So this is building on the first OLE and Power we had down in Swindon last year, for those of you who can remember. There'll be a half-day seminar at South Bank University, Understanding Asset Life, and that's the 22nd of May. So anybody who's down in London at the South Bank, then get along to that. We'll also be at Railtex, 14th to the 16th of May. We've got a stand there. And then we go to Rail Live the 19th and 20th of June. So there is a big PWI presence at all the events now, and that's starting to grow as well. As I say, thanks to all the speakers and to the exhibitors. We have exhibitors out in the hall, and most of you have seen there. It is also their input that helps us to put these events on, because it does take a lot to pull together and to show you some things that are going on. There will be emails coming to those who have enlisted for today, and the email will be asking you to fill in feedback, because we need that feedback to make these events better or more suited to you and to improve them. Although they take some improving, Dave, to be fair. And if you wouldn't mind leaving your badges as you go out. When you go out past where your registration were this morning, there'll be a box on the side. If you can drop all your badges in there, it keeps our costs down and we don't have to keep printing them. And on that, I'll close, and hopefully we're away before 4:30. Thanks to all. Cheers.